Hi and welcome to lesson 5. In the last lesson you learnt about cells. You learnt about the active cell, you learnt about worksheets, you learnt about workbooks, and you discovered how to save and save as workbooks, and equally the naming convention, so giving it a name that makes sense and one that's going to help remind you of what you were looking at. The other part of Excel is the menu ribbon bar. That's this along here. This is the ribbon toolbar, and everything you're likely to need is going to be along here somewhere. Each of the options gives you a range of tools usually associated with the word at the top. Home is a general collection. It holds most things that the others don't hold. It also uses the most frequent tools, so the ability to change the way the font looks in each cell or in one cell, the copy paste tools, the undo and redo buttons, the ability to center or align your text within or wrap text within a cell. That might not make any sense, but it will do later. Merge and center again won't make any sense at the moment, but when we come to combine one or more cells, this tool becomes useful. This is the format of each cell. Again, you don't need to understand it at the moment, but the options there and the ability to control the way cells look. We have some controls for that here, but these are what we call semi-permanent. They will remain the same no matter what data you put into them. These are conditional. We can also insert, delete or format cells, rows or columns. And then we've got editing tools over here, which we will look at later on, but that's mainly the home area. Insert is obviously for putting things into the worksheet. Tables? Well, Excel seems to be a table of tables, but these tables here are pivot tables and that type, and they're very, very useful. You'll learn about those later on. Pictures, if you want to insert smart art or shapes, 3D models onto here, you do that through here. There are other programs that you could add in and include into the system, or charts, which we'll be looking at later on. You've got 3D mapping, altering the way charts look, introducing new flash charts, and so on and so forth. But this is about inserting objects into your spreadsheet. How the spreadsheet looks, how you want to orientate the way everything is, either when you come to print it or how it looks generally for you. You can bring things forward and backwards, but that's called layering, and that's for later on. The main thing you'll use within this area is looking here for things like what can I view. So grid lines, these are these light grey lines that you can see that define each cell. You may want to not view them or view them. You've got headings. Those are the cell references top and bottom. You might want to switch them off or switch them on again. You might want to have them visible when you come to print the document. Same thing with the headings. Usually when you print, you don't want to see these cell column references or row references, and you don't want to see the grid lines, but sometimes you do. Formulas. This is the backbone of Excel. This is the heart of the power behind it, and it looks really confusing. So we're not going to spend very long looking here because we're not dealing with these at the moment, but when you come to look at formulas later on, this becomes really, really useful. If you remember, in the very first video I showed you a spreadsheet that took data from the FTSE 100, and I used this tool, the data tool, to do so. I used the from web option, but there are other ones that you can do, and you can alter the way that the data is displayed. Data is simply what is contained in a cell or multiple cells, and that can be a column of data, a row of data, a sheet of data, a selection of data, or just one cell. Again, don't worry about the terminology there. We will go over all and each term as we come across it in the later lessons. Review. This option allows us to do a few things to control the way that our sheet appears, or to give ourselves help. So it will help us control the spelling or look up keywords. It will also allow us to add comments. So sometimes you might want to put some data into a cell and then add a comment that tells someone about the data in that cell. You can protect a sheet to stop someone from altering the data on that sheet, or you can protect the workbook, which allows no one to change anything in the workbook unless they remove the protection. And you can password protect these. And you can equally allow someone only partial access to some of the cells. So they might be able to edit this cell, but they can't edit that cell. There are some good reasons for that, and we'll look at those later on. View is how you're going to see the spreadsheets. So at the moment we're in normal, and this is the most common view. You have page break view. That allows you to see it with lines that show you how it would be divided up if you came to print it on the printer, usually for a piece of paper that's A4 size. Page layout allows you again to see how it would look each cell within an A4 page. These lines have only appeared now because I've just chosen that option. I can choose a custom view if I want. I also have again the ability to turn off the grid lines, the headings, and this option here called the formula bar, which we haven't looked at yet, but we will do later on. I can zoom into the sheet, and I can zoom back to normal, and I can even zoom to a selection. And I have many other functions. The freeze panes become useful later on. So I have many options available to me, and we can explore those later on. This line, by the way, will appear if you've selected page layout or page break preview. Now, assuming you're following along with me, this will appear. We need to get rid of it because it's just rather annoying, and you'll notice that it appears all the way down. So rather than that confuse us, we're going to have to just do a couple of steps, and if you followed me, let's help you get rid of them. But the steps I'm going to show you are not an essential part of the lesson. I'm not going to test you on what I'm going to show you now. To get rid of them, we simply need to go to File. We need to go down to the bottom and look for the word Options. We click on Options, and this menu will appear. We then need to go to Advanced. Scroll down. In this center part, I'm using the middle mouse button just to scroll down slowly. If I don't want to do that, I can use a scroll bar. This is a scroll bar on this side here that allows me to go up and down. And if I keep scrolling, I'll get to a section that says Display. We're not interested in that one. So if I scroll down a bit further, I've got Display options for this workbook. Not interested in that one. I've then got one that says display options for this worksheet, and I've got show page breaks. As soon as I clicked on these, Excel ticked this for me, but Excel hasn't given us a nice option to switch this off as easily as it switched it on. So I'm simply going to click, take that out, click on OK, and as if by magic, those lines have disappeared. You don't have to remember that. That's not part of the lesson here, but just in case you followed me through down that little rabbit hole, we're back to where we should have been. So that's the ribbon toolbar. This will become more and more familiar with you as you go through more and more of the lessons. But in the next lesson, we're going to have a look at these cells again, and something I did a few moments ago that probably made you go, what is he doing? Is we're going to be looking at selecting cells and a little bit more about this name box. So, see you in the next lesson.